Hey babe, what's that?
Oh God, you mean that thing we just looked at? I'm sorry you had to see that, babe. That's what they tell us to go on Hajj. That's called the Black Stone, and according to Muslims like Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab, that's not paganism. We can clearly see that everyone is jumping and trying to push and shove to go kiss the Black Stone, which is idol worship, and everyone is trying to stick their head in this one hole to try to commit to idol worship. But Islam, they could rape people as slaves. They can kill people in the name of religion. They can marry children in the name of God. And they can kiss the black stone, shove, push, and do what they gotta do and go crazy for it to get quote unquote blessings. But the line of decency is crossed at shaking a woman's hand. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Wife went up to say, "How do you do?" to the guy and shake his hand. He wouldn't shake her hand. He said, "I'm a Muslim. I can't shake your hand."
Okay.
In your own religion, fine, but why spread that to somebody who's not religious and be rude?
I mean, first of all, the decision to touch someone is a personal decision, firstly. Secondly, on a religious level, actually, the reason why Islam actually has that as a ruling within Islam is actually to honor women. We can't.
Hey, what's up,
Hey,
guys?
what's up, guys? It's me and Jessica checking in again. Our last video was kind of long, and our first response to Ali Dawah. We touched on the Quran a little bit, touched on morality a little bit. When you go on any Islamic website or Islamic Pro YouTube, they have these super visual effects, and they kind of water everything down and feed it to you like sugar about how everything was preserved, and they have this idea of delivering it to the masses that you don't need to question nothing. There's no holes. And we basically touched on it a little bit to show you that it's all a lie, right? Their method of delivery is very smart to not spread fear and doubt in the land. But guys, today we're going to literally show you. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Jessica's word for it. But we're going to literally show you using Yasir Qadhi, and we're going to show using Muhammad Hijab that they basically exposed themselves, and the whole Muslim world is shaken up by this. Like, oh my God, how can you guys admit this on camera? Now, before we get into that, I just want to say something really quickly concerning religion as a whole, right? It doesn't matter if you're an atheist or if you're a religious person. A good person is a good person. But a person who's an extremist, whether he's a Muslim or Christian or Hindu or whatever, they're going to categorize you and label you as a non-believer, and they're going to have some radical views about you. That's the whole purpose of trying to show all the evidences that we have to debunk Islam. Not because we're trying to attack people's belief in God, but simply the fact that radical Islam exists, and it's a danger to secularism and democracy. And 30 to 40 years from now, they will be the ultimate threat. And I don't think the world is human civilization is gonna go forward with Sharia law, right? And the issue is that people who are real believers believe Sharia law, being the divine law of God, has to be taken literal. And if it has to be taken literal, they are going to continue to do jihad at scales and magnitudes we cannot even comprehend in this time period, let alone 30 years from now. So it's very important that we spread the truth to try to let people know, hey, yo, look, we got to fight against this because this is the biggest threat to society. Now, quickly, I want to say this. I wrote this really quickly, and I feel like it should be something used for everyone of all faiths and people who are even atheists or agnostic. It doesn't matter, right? Just food for the mind, right? So I wanted to say the two biggest mysteries in life are these two questions. The first question is, how did this world and everything in it come to exist? The second question is, what happens after you die in this world? Where do we end up next? The first question we assume has been answered by the simple explanation that God created everything. The way we come to know and verify this is the truth is through a human vehicle, meaning a person, that claim that an omniscient authority has provided divine truth and divine guidance for his creation. This becomes an adequate explanation because the general population doesn't have the collective mental capacity to comprehend the complexities about this universe. Question number 2 has no true answer simply because it's the realm of the unknown and no one has died and came back to life to come tell us, hey, look, we know what happens after death. So it's simple explanation that after we die, we are judged by our human actions and depart to a place called heaven or a torture house called hell. So because we all know what joy, happiness feels like and how we also know what pain, sorrow, and torture feels like, this explanation becomes true because the feeling element of our existence is real. So we can relate and comprehend the feeling element of the next world. So by this understanding, people assume it to be real, even though there is no real evidence to prove what happens after death. The only thing we can prove is that the body dies, the flesh decays, everything rots, and we can just see the frame of the body, the skeleton. What's unique is that as time goes on, people like Christian, Muslim apologists, philosophers, people who study logic and reasoning, they are able to use this new level of science to be able to question the universe and try to draw answers. So as time goes forward, they're able to understand why things may have happened or why things may have been created in such a way, right? Now the issue is, because the second question can never be proven, it becomes the ultimate question. So a hierarchy of powers from late antiquity to modern times use this ambiguity to sell fear to humans. And we are buying this fear, guys, by accepting their narrative of a reality they can never prove exists, especially another world they can never prove exists. And we're buying this fear where the currency is our peace of mind, guys. You know, at the end of the day, when people tell you they know how this universe and everything in it was made, plus where we will end up after death, simply respond like this, guys. How do you know? And each how do you know will eventually bring them to a wall where they will be driven to investigate their beliefs, claims, and only then will they know the truth. You know, some people call the ultimate power of the humans the mind. Some people call it the collective unconscious. Some people say it's the soul. I like to personally call it the power of the Holy Spirit. So at the end of the day, when we were looking at something really quickly. It was a post about a Muslim guy, and he asked his father, why did Allah make the unbelievers? And he tried to ask everyone, and he's like, if God made such a perfect world, why did he make the unbelievers? And he said he never found no one ever had the answer. Now, some people who are trained in this question will have an answer, but I think that wasn't truly the question he should have been asking. But that question did lead him to the truth, because he became an ex-Muslim. But nonetheless, I think this is the ultimate question. This is the ultimate question, which I think the philosopher Thomas Aquinas perfectly asked. Because he couldn't understand it, because he was a Christian. He couldn't understand it, because he was drawing so much knowledge from Muslims during the time of the golden age of Islam. He couldn't understand it. So he said, how come God gives so much knowledge and wisdom to the non-believer? How come an atheist can have such revelations and such knowledge in this life? It just doesn't make any sense, because the people who worship their God is supposed to be the chosen people, and therefore they're supposed to be rewarded by God. And the non-believers are supposed to be going to this place called hell, the torture house. And for some reason, God keeps blessing and giving. Now, the biggest gift we got right now is Yasir Qadhi and Muhammad Hijab. And even a Saudi Arabian scholar who we're going to show again in another clip. But let's check this clip out really quickly, guys.
If I were to give you a blank mushaf, yeah, and tell you to write what is munazzal verbatim from Allah into that mushaf with no human interference, would you write something which corresponds?
It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy yes or no. It is enough for the Muslim to believe that the
I think
Quran
this should
is...
be an easy yes or no, though. Yasir Qadhi. I have to.
Okay, very, very well. So, yeah, Muhammad, after we get off this phone call, me and you, let's have a number of discussions. No problem. I'm very open with advanced students. But these issues should not... Look, it is Kalamullah, what is going to be written. It is Kalamullah. It is
what would you write?
You're pushing me. And I'm saying it's not hikmah to... Listen, I have a condition. Like I said, everything I say is going to be factual.
Guys, as you can see in the clip, Muhammad Hijab is sitting there like a big balloon, confused. He doesn't even know what's happening. Every time Yasir Qadhi talks, he's like being filled with air. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to pop. I don't know. Yasir Qadhi, this is a simple question. There's all these Qurans. If you had a blank mushaf, which is a book, and you were to put one of these, you're going to copy one of these books into this blank mushaf, which one is it? And he's like, don't pressure me. Don't pressure me. You're pushing too much. You know why, guys? Because he studied in America. So because he studied in America and he got a PhD here, he has been interrogated. Yes, he's been liberated as well. But he's been interrogated by academics too. How did this happen? Do you have a hole here? You have a hole there. You have a hole here. You have a hole here. Where's the answer to this? Where's the answer to this? Where's the answer to this? Now, we're not going to always have all the answers. That's the whole point of academic scholarship or investigating things, right? It's not about that he has to have all the answers. It's the issue where Islam claims that it is the all-knowing, perfect, preserved, not a single word, not a single letter inserted, not even a phrase or a surah missing, not even a verse missing. So when you have this ultimate God level attribute attributed to your religion and attributed to your book, it's gonna make scholars push really hard to start poking. He's telling you, there's a red line. There's a red line. Don't cross the red line. We're taught not to cross the red line. You can push a little bit, but don't push back again, right? Why, guys? Because when you push, you push,
answers.
You find the answers. And the answers, guys, the answers is scary, right? Like I said, everything in the world has been written by humans when it comes to literature, whether it's writings on stones, rocks, hieroglyphics, paintings, doesn't matter, guys. Literature and art, all of this was created by this thing called a hand, right? Nothing fell from the sky. So that's when I want to ask people, and they come at the Bible, they say, hey, look, the Bible's been corrupted. I'm like, no, the Bible has never been corrupted. It had a different hands exchanged in its writing, yes. The Gospels were written by who they were written, and it was translated in different languages, okay, but it's written by man. So whatever errors may have happened, whether it's a printing error or a mistake in the writing, we're humans, and humans make mistakes. But I need you to associate this same thinking to your book. Who wrote the Quran? And they say, no one wrote the Quran. It's the word of God. Muhammad was revealed. He was illiterate. It's this mantra that they teach him in the program, right? And I say, okay, no problem. How did you get the book? Well, I got the book because the Imam gave it to me, or it was passed down. But who wrote it, though? Who put the words Muhammad said into a book? Did Allah do it? They just get nervous. But the people who answer the question directly, they say, hey, we had scribes, and we had a community, and we had 100 people. We had 100 writers. We had a community. We had everybody check and cross-reference this, and we had this ultimate version of preservation. But you're dodging the question, though. Who wrote it? Humans wrote it. A man wrote it. And at that time, there was a high level of illiteracy. Therefore, whatever people was writing, they didn't even know what they were writing. They didn't even know how to write it. So therefore, scribes had to interpret what they were saying. And furthermore, guys, the diacritical marks, which is the dots and the lines, didn't come out during the time of Muhammad. Didn't come out during the time of Uthman. So the original Quran, the Mus'haf, they were written in what we would call Hijazi Arabic, which is missing those diacritical marks. So things are left up into interpretation. It's an ambiguous state now. So now, guys, when we look at this next clip really quickly here.
By and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things. And they're not answering those questions in a manner that it needs to be answered. And this is something all of us that are in academia, fully beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when it should never be brought up in public. And then these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions.
عندنا مصايب في كتب الدين والفقه موجودة كثيرة، بس هم ما يحبون يناقشون ولا يحبون نعرضها على الناس. وإذا عرضتها يقول لك فلان يشكك، وإذا عرضتها دقيقة، إذا عرضتها يقول لك دقيقة، إذا عرضتها يقول لك يشكك الناس في الإسلام. لا، أنا ماشي، هذا موجود في كتب الإسلام. لما يجيني حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يطوف على النساء 9 وبغسل واحد وتذكره، لا تشكك، هذا موجود في كتب الإسلام. لا تخافون من الناس.
You can see that this Arab scholar is telling you the Imams is lying to you. They're hiding the darkness. They're hiding the truth that the Hadith say. So when people bring it up, they say, how can you say that? You're an Islamophobe. That's not right. You're lying. And then they start attacking your beliefs because they don't have a response. They don't have a response. And he's telling you guys that the Imams have been lying to you. The Imams have literally been watering it down and hiding this from people. And they're always with the peaceful message. Oh no, this and that. We just worship God. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. You know, peace and blessings be upon you. And it's always this calm narrative. But then on the right hand side, the Daesh and ISIS are killing and shooting people in the name of Allah. And they have these terrorists where they have charters talking about we need to destroy the Jews and we need to hurt the Jews. And you're like, okay, but what about those people that are trying to harm Jews? Or what about those people that are killing people in the name of God? And what about those people that are saying that the non-believers need to be charged tax and they're over there taking women and children as quote-unquote right-hand possessions and doing what they want with them? Are they going to heaven? Are they going to Jannah? What do you mean Islam doesn't support terrorism or you're against the actions that they did? Who gave you the authority to dictate whether or not they know what they're reading or if they understand it or not? They have the book. They're praying 5 times a day. In Islam, prayer is the most important thing. Without prayer, you're finished. It doesn't matter what you do. You have to pray. They're praying 5 times a day. They're fasting during the month of Ramadan. They're giving zakat. They're doing what their religion tells them to do. So who are you to dictate? Because I see Dilly Hussein telling Pierce Morgan, what qualifications do you have to interpret Sharia law? My response is, what qualifications does Daesh and ISIS and Islamic fighters and extremists and jihads have to justify that their interpretation of Sharia law is correct and that women need to be dressed up as Halloween costumes in the Grim Reaper and be running around in society like they don't exist and they can go kill people and take over neighboring places and make plots about it? What is your qualifications to say that what they're doing is wrong? Because in 1 minute, the Muslims are telling you radical Islam is wrong. But then the next minute, they're telling you that we don't have qualifications to interpret their religion. This next guy is a super genius, super Islamic scholar, like higher up echelon of Islamic studies and education. He basically was jailed for the past 4 years. You guys can see him on Google. The Saudi Arabian government basically, they were like, hey, yo, look, this guy is being... He's being an apostate. He's speaking blasphemy, and he's basically an apostate right now. So, in the clip we show right here, real quick.
نروح الجنة ونلقاه؟ طبعا، ليش لا؟ ليش لا؟
يعني انت على كلامك إذا الجنة موجود فيها مسلمين طبعا ويهود ونصارى والحديد ممكن نلقى فيها.
ولذلك انا قلت الله يقول لا يكلف الله نفسا الا وسعها من الداخلين من المسلمين.
الذي غير المسلمين من في الجنة أكثر من المسلمين.
قد يكون انا اقول قد ترى احتمال.
Guys, he's literally telling you, he's debunking the Islamic notion and idea that gay people, atheists, Christians, the non-believers, that they're not going to Jannah. He says that heaven must have more non-believers, gay people, atheists, Christians, more than Muslims. And this is like, what? How can you say that? It's insane. People can't comprehend this, and they're like, no, if you're automatically a Muslim, you're going to this idea of paradise. But this guy is a very spiritual person, and you know, he loves the Quran and stuff like that, but he has understood it on a different level. And I wouldn't consider him to be a Muslim, honestly, even though he studies the Quran and loves that he uses it as a way to guide his life, because at the end of the day, he's not like the extremists and the radical people. He found the truth, and like many other Islamic scholars, they're all being jailed or killed. And this is why they hate apostasy, right? Because they don't want you spreading the truth in the land. And this comes to an end for our second video. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. I hope you guys learned and opened your eyes to the lies Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab is committing. They're making too much money off of YouTube and the Islamic faith. Just like these imams and masjids, they're all making money off of, they're always asking you money and telling you that if you help build a masjid or help build a dawah center, it will be the ultimate reward for you in heaven, that Allah's going to build you a bigger mansion in heaven. Guys, these are all marketing schemes. But nonetheless, enjoy yourself. Sweetheart, you want to say goodbye?
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Take care.